Thank you for that question. And Rajesh, we had an event a few weeks ago, which is our flagship event called Sapphire Now. We do it annually, and we had the minister, Shri Arvind Thakur, with me on a panel. We were talking only about MSMEs and what happens in India. But to your question, look, MSMEs are definitely key to the SAP strategy, SAP India strategy, right? And I think we're making a lot of headway in this segment, and it's also personally very close to my heart, and I'll tell you why, right? Because the patriot in me continues to live on, while it's been 3 decades or more, but it continues to live on, and I just feel that this is one mechanism, right, by which we can truly impact the Indian economy, like you said. And we've been seeing a lot of traction from this segment, even over the last 6, 7, 8 months, despite the impact of the pandemic, Rajesh. Yeah. And I'll tell you what shifts or changes that I'm seeing, and then I'll touch on one or two more things from what SAP is doing in that segment to try and help. But definitely, I think this business landscape today, the MSME landscape, is being characterized by what we would see, a lot of volatile demand and supply, no brainer, given the pandemic. Socially distanced manufacturing is what we are seeing all over, with minimal touch points, touch supply chains, or minimal touch supply chains would be a better way to put it. And, the pandemic has definitely brought digital first or digital only, in a lot of cases to the forefront, especially in the MSMEs. And, I'm seeing that across the landscape, even across some of the largest enterprises, conglomerates, agnostic of which industry segments they sit in. But more so in the MSMEs, we are seeing that hunger to develop, more resilient, agile models to very quickly move on to cloud technologies. And this is what the landscape has been over the last few months of the pandemic. And three big pieces, and like I said, SAP is definitely very, very hungry to do a lot more in this segment. And we've done a ton of, research and surveys, etc. Three big things that came out in terms of a demand from this segment. Number one was, the request or the requirement or the ask for gaining access to global markets. Okay, so no longer did this segment want to remain dovetailed within the country, and essentially, look at it as global sourcing, which became so much more important during the pandemic, Rajesh, right? And just the volatility of the domestic demand that we've been seeing, is what probably was a motivator for that request. And what we did in turn was, we've got something called the SAP Ariba Discovery Networks. I won't get into the tech part of it, but some of the largest business networks in the world. And we opened that up for the MSME segment free of cost, so that the buyers and the suppliers, they could start posting their sourcing needs, etc., and get connected to some of the suppliers, irrespective of where in the world you are. So that was one ask that we had. The second was, and SAP being best in class, I think that's a given. But the ask was, how can we make our technology more affordable for this segment, right? Because everyone could afford it. And I think we made a dent there with our, it was an initiative under the Bharat ERP, what we term, where we, put in something called the Business One starter pack for this segment at affordable prices, so that they could get or transition onto the whole digital bandwagon with our help, right, from an affordable. And the third piece, of course, that came up was around digital skilling, right, or the availability of the talent pool, which we know is so important for India all across, but more so for the SMEs. And for this again, we've got lots of initiatives. We run our flagship program called the Code Unnati, which is purely around skilling, a very highly awarded, rewarded Golden Peacock, and several other coveted awards. But so look, we are solving for some of these areas, and the great part is that we see a lot of customers, and I can rattle off 20 names for you in this segment who are creating magic, Rajesh. And I won't do that. I know we have a limited time, but some really cool customers like this friend of mine who runs a company called Way Cool, right, in the agri-food space. It's a startup which has got some amazing funding over the last few months, and they're transforming their whole farm to fork, if I can call it that, the whole farm to fork supply chain. And today they are serving 19,000 clients, 50,000 farmers, some crazy numbers, and we help them set up their robust supply chains, etc. So look, I could go on. This is an important segment. We are trying our best. We are seeing a lot of success, and yet the feeling is there's so much more we can do, Rajesh.